Hey VenTree team, Aaron Elton here. I'm just doing an update. It's May 3rd, 2020, and we're inside our Lyra plantation, which is doing okay. We've had some issues with a lot of rain. So the region has had very unusual rainfall for the past year, and you can see a lot of water in the plantation here, which is not ideal for the Lyra trees. So the trees are being stunted a little bit in terms of their growth rates. And you can hear the frogs in the background. But we're doing some irrigation on this, so we're going to be, sorry, not irrigation, but trenching, and we're going to be coming in and putting in pits to take the water from the general plantation and soak it into specific areas so that the trees can kind of bounce back. Now, these types of seasonal changes, albeit that this one is very unusual and it only happens once every 20 years or so, they come and go like this. So it's just sort of a part of the process of dealing with natural systems like this. You can just see the water here in the plantation is soaking it up. So what you see is the trees have dropped a lot of their lower leaves and they're favoring the upper leaves here, the canopy, simply because, of course, they're waterlogged. So they have too much water. And Lyra is really good with dry land sort of conditions. So what we're witnessing here with this plantation is sort of a slowdown in production. You do have some fairly good growth though, putting on. This is, we're coming into our second year now. So it's not ideal, okay? It's not a perfect situation, but we do obviously have quite a few trees here that will bounce, and they'll grow faster during those dry seasons actually. So if we come into a drought, this heavy rains will be really beneficial because there'll be that underground water store available, and all those upper roots and those filaments can grow back, and then you'll see the growth rate pick back up again. My theory is right now that the growth rates are stunted because there's too much water, not enough gas exchange for the plantation to thrive and grow at the speed that we would have expected it to. And so finding those perfect conditions is obviously quite a challenge. And yeah, we're continuing to plant more and more trees on our upper acreage where the growth rates are obviously much better because you have more drainage, okay? We did plant in a valley here, and that is why you have this accumulation of water. And that is why we have to now come in and mitigate those impacts on the plantation by digging deep pits. I'll just take you to one right now. It's just over here. Okay, so right here we have an example of one of the pits, and this one we're using for irrigating the plantation in the dry season, which we anticipated having to do because the previous 5 years that we've been here, it's been extremely dry. So as Priceless Farms administration and personnel we've been living here for over 5 years, most of the time we've been dealing with droughts. And it just so happens that as we put in the VenTree plantation, now we're dealing with flooding and inundations of lots and lots of water, lots of rain. So it's these crazy fluctuations that we have to make some adjustments for. The teams have been putting trenches in the landscape to run the water off, which is very abnormal to us because we're always trying to capture as much water and have as much water as possible, but there's two sides to every coin, and that's what we're experiencing here. So we're going to do lots of these throughout the plantation. You can see in the background here the growth rates are slowed down. It's difficult for you because you're only getting these little updates every now and then. You can see our manager's house here with his wife. This is Alex, and he's been doing an amazing job making sure it's all weeded. But you can see we have about 30 feet of growth, and we've got these pole structures here. So this pole, when it gets a little bit bigger, we'll start to cut it and sell it, and we'll start to get our money back, and we'll start to get our first profits. And then the trees, and then we get into our staggered cutting routine. So the trees which remain after the first cutting will start to shoot up exponentially because they've got so much more light and so much more freedom to grow. And then again, those ones will be cut and sold, and these ones that we cut will grow back up. I think I've explained that in previous videos, but essentially what we have here is a pullwood plantation, and the best of the best will be kept to go to the full growth, which would be like a six-year period where you would get sort of the large telephone pole style. So you can see some of the growth is really good. And this one, if you can see, is doing very well because it is on a trench, which is allowing this upper section here, so this area here to breathe better, okay? So the trees are breathing better here when we have these sort of trenches. So we need to put these trenches throughout the whole plantation as a reaction to the excessive rains. And so we're going to do that, and we're going to keep expanding as much as possible. So we're still planting every other day. We've got lots of nurseries and lots of space, and we're looking at new land all the time, all around us. There's so much space to grow more trees like this. And now we've reached the stage where we can now come in here and plant some really nice row crops. So you take a look at this. Beautiful rows. I'm just going to do a little truck here. You can see the rows have been planted perfectly in some sections. And of course you get a little bit of a horizontal effect as well. But in between these rows, now we can come in here and we can talk to the local teams who've been growing food here traditionally for generations. We can say, okay, what do you want to grow in here? And this is all grow space. So this is really the key benefit to this style of plantation, is that now that we've reached what I would call a maturity, okay, these trees are going to grow, and they're going to keep growing regardless of how much we weed them. We could let this whole thing go to bush. It's not ideal for the growth rates, but now that we have this setup, we can now parcel this out in 1 acre, 2 acre sections, and families from all around the local community can come in here and they can grow their food for their families, and at the same time we get the benefit of the fact that it's all being weeded, which is great. So that's our next phase. We're going to be going into this over the next few months here, parceling this out for food production, and see how many takers we get in the local community to activate that beautiful symbiotic relationship between the invested tree plantation and the local community eating and consuming food from that tree plantation, which is completely organic. So we'll just have to really do a proper assessment on what grows well. You can see here we have some example gardens. Alex is growing in here. We have corn, we have eggplants, there's sweet potato, and bananas he's just planted. You can see the banana pits there. Just jump over the trench. These are the new banana pits right here. And you can just see the color of this soil. This is the real value that we have as a species, this lush black soil. And by diversely planting like this here, even you can see in here he's got beans crawling up his maize, which is the corn. And so you have this dynamic garden that he's doing, and he's just one example. Eggplants, maize, everything. Alex is just one example of a family that is utilizing the landscape around here, and he has over 20 acres to expand into with all of his community members in the area, which we do a small little crop share model. So the company might retain maybe 20% of the food, and then we would put that back to staff feeding as well. So this is a really beautiful model. And of course, if we come in here and put high value crops like moringa and other things that have high value, then again we also have another investment model where we could say, okay, let's make a further investment inside the same territory and increase our overall income generation. So thanks a lot for watching. Hope you were informed. I'm sorry it's been a long time since we've done an update like this. I've been very busy in Kampala City. As you know, the COVID-19 situation came in just recently as well, and we're doing the best that we can with the limited resources that we have. So thanks again for your support, and have a great day.